Enduring Enchantments is the latest offering for Commander Masters pre-constructed Commander decks. Now in today's video, we're going to have to tear into the value of this deck, and we're going to look at the financial going forward for Wizards of the Coast, because apparently they're raising the prices of the overall pre-constructed decks, and they're expecting players to pay for it. So it looks like all this deck's trying to do, this Enduring Enchantments, is just trying to enchant your wallet. Sometimes you can have a great idea, an enchanting idea. But just because the idea is great or enchanting does not mean it's good enough to get off the ground and stick. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thanks again for hanging out with me on the channel today. And it's an interesting thing to cover because I'm still new to Commander. I don't know everything. But I know cards I like, I know ideas I like, and I know Commander decks that I want to build. I've been building a Sliver deck, I'm building an Eldrazi deck, I've even been building an enchantment deck using Sarah's Sanctum, like, reserveless cards that I know and love, and trying to incorporate them into these decks. So I've really found it very interesting to cover the 3 Commander decks we've done so far. And this one today, Enduring Enchantments, kind of had me on the sidelines because I wasn't sure what to expect. I looked at the cards, I've kind of looked at the financial side and the value, but I also started matching this off against older decks. Older things that have already been created, and it really isn't matching up well to what we've even received over the last several years. Wizards of the Coast looks like they're trying a new financial avenue, and that's something I want to cover today in today's video as well. Like, it's just, this is information we need to know because it shows where we've been and where we're going. Now, the whole idea of shrinkflation, I've touted that on the channel a few times. So this Commander deck and the others before it, they've gone really heavy on brand recognition. People like the idea of enchantment decks. They like a super fun party pack deck of Planeswalkers. We all love Eldrazi and we love the Slivers, and they're well aware of it. Their marketing research would show them that these are trends that would bode well. They would market well, okay? So they built decks around that. The idea, the concepts, some of the new cards are really playable. I think they're great. But then comes the price point. And this is where we really see that Wizard of the Coast is kind of pushing the envelope and pushing things forward. Because these price points do seem out of whack when I've compared it against previous Commander decks in the years before. Forget the inflation, forget those. They don't matter enough to make this big of a difference. Even with production costs and stuff, it's just too expensive. So although in today's video when we cover these cards, I might find some of these cards awesome and interesting, I'll tell you right now, I can't really endorse buying this deck today. It's just too expensive. It doesn't, when you know the reprints coming in, like the card from the Grove that lets you out the extra land, the little 2/4 guy, the green guy, a great card, 20 bucks now, $5 in a few weeks. These reprints are going to crash. So the value of this deck is going to crash hard, and it's not going to recover. Players need to be aware of that. When you couple that with the fact that these things will be on sale. We've already seen Commander decks over the years, in the last several years, just get dumped by Amazon, get discounted out. It's going to happen again, and the data shows me probably by Christmas, if not right into the new year, like a lot of the other decks have done. Everything from Midnight Hunt, all these cards, guys, these decks, it's what happens. They print too many, they can't sell them, they got to clear them out, so do the stores. So expect the discounts and savings. If you can wait for any of these decks, I would wait. Because singles are going to crash about 150 days from now, and those decks will be on sale if you want to buy a whole deck. The idea of the enchantment deck is something that grabs me. It really does. But I'll tell you right now, before you even watch the video, these prices are not going to hold where they are, which means you shouldn't be spending the money. You shouldn't spend your hard-earned money, in my opinion, on these decks the way they are. Wizards of the Coast at this price point probably should have given us more reprint value than they gave us. And for those who've been on my channel for a while, you know I hate the temples. Coming into play tapped and Scry 1 is not good enough in the mana base to really get things going when you have people who can like burn lands out and get giant honking creatures out by turn 2 and 3 in Commander. So, nah, that's way too slow. And even the idea of playing with friends with that, even against the Slivers, it's not going to hold up well, I don't think. We'll see. I mean, it's a fun deck, sure. Anything's fun to play right out of the box when you're playing against other decks. I just think this one seems even weaker than the others, but the individual cards that are new seem kind of creative. So let's go ahead and take a look at the cards today. Let's take a look at some fun stuff, and let's keep the conversation going. Our first card is Boon of the Spirit Realm. This is a 2 white, 3 generic enchantment with Constellation. Whenever Boon of the Spirit Realm or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, put a blessing counter on Boon of the Spirit Realm. Creatures you control get +1/+1 for each blessing counter on Boon of the Spirit Realm. An interesting card, but at a 5 casting cost, I actually think it's a little bit expensive for what it does, okay? Because there's too many board clearance spells to make this as utilized as you'd like it to be. Now, Narcy the Fable Singer is 1 green, 1 black, 1 white, 1 generic, legendary creature, human, bard. I think it's interesting they add the bard in there. Kind of brings me back to the D&D, Forgotten Realms type stuff, and Baldur's Gate. So these subclass things I kind of like seeing. Now this is a 3/3 creature with lifelink. Whenever you sacrifice an enchantment, draw a card. Whenever the final chapter ability of a saga card you control resolves, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is that saga's mana value. That card is fun. There's lots of triggers you can do with it, and because it's sagas and there's so many available now, I think that's a fun build around card, which means it's a card you might pick out and build individually, ignoring a lot of other minor enchantment cards. Now, Battle of the Hellevault, I like the idea, the lore behind this, and I'll be honest, I love this artwork. I love the stained glass stuff, so this is awesome. It is 2 white, 4 generic. For each player, exile up to 1 target non-saga, non-land permanent that player controls until Battle of the Hellevault leaves the battlefield. So it's going to be there for a couple turns. Turn 1, turn 2, you're going to keep exiling stuff. Gives you a little bit of time, and then everything will come back when it leaves. But here on the 3rd chapter, you get Create Avacyn, a legendary 8/8 white angel creature token with flying, vigilance, and indestructible. I like the idea of that. It brings back Avacyn. It brings back nostalgia, and I'm a player who loves that kind of stuff, and that art is kind of cool. Now, Odu the Spirit Dancer. 1 white, 4 generic. I like cards that only tap 1 of a mana. It leaves so much more open to like do kind of split decks and stuff where you don't have to tap into 2 or 3 of one type. Now, it's a 3/3 creature core cleric. A cleric. More clerics. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you may create a copy of it. Do this only once each turn. Guys, this is crazy. I'm not saying you're going to copy a legendary enchantment, but think about all the brutal enchantments out there. This card has a chance. You have to ramp it out. You got to have the right build, but it could have some fun for players working around it. Now, the Nyxborn Behemoth, a 10/10 for 12, 2 green, 10 generic. Enchantment creature beast, but this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total mana value of non-creature enchantments you control. So lots of enchantments lower the casting cost. It has trample. It also has 1 green, 1 generic, sacrifice another enchantment, and the behemoth gains indestructible until end of turn. This one to me is way too generic. It doesn't do enough. It doesn't, I would not use it, put it that way. Now the Ghoulish Epidus. 1 black, 2 generic. This kind of reminds me of Beetlejuice for some reason. It's got to be the purple in there, but I like the idea of the artwork. It is an enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchant creature gets +1/+1, has death touch, and is goaded. When enchanted creature dies, return Ghoulish Epidus to the battlefield at the beginning of the next upkeep. So you just attach it to another creature and give that creature goad. But it doesn't say it has to be your creature, which I like. You can put this on other people's stuff and just start messing around. This card, it screams fun. Just like Beetlejuice would. It screams fun. Now, the next 3 cards. The Demon of Fate's Design. Love the name. Not so big on the casting cost. 2 black, 4 generic. Enchantment creature demon, flying trample. No haste, unfortunately. Once during each of your turns, you may cast an enchantment spell by paying life equal to its mana cost other than paying its mana. So, you know, you can just pay the 6 mana, get some big honking enchantment out by losing life. And in Commander, that's not such a big drawback. There are lots of enchantments worth getting out and paying that life cost. So this guy's going to see some play as well, I think. It also has 1 black, 2 generic, sacrifice another enchantment. And Demon of Fate's Design gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is that sacrifice enchantment's mana value. Kind of reminds me of things like Howl from Beyond. You're going to sacrifice something instead of tapping mana, and you're going to give something a big pump up. Now, the next card I really do like. This is Composer of Spring. 1 green, 1 generic, a satyr, bard creature. Another bard card and satyr. Think about that, guys. Think about these combinations over the years. This is a 1/3 with constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. But if you control 6 or more enchantments instead, you put a creature card or a land card onto the battlefield tapped. So this is awesome. This is a really good card that's going to see play. The next card is Cacophony Unleashed. That is 2 black, 5 generic enchantment. When it's unleashed, it enters the battlefield. If you cast it, destroy all non-enchantment creatures. That's epic, guys. And they're a board clearance spell. Whenever Cacophony Unleashed or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, until end of turn, Cacophony Unleashed is a legendary 6/6 nightmare god creature with menace, death touch, and it's still an enchantment. I like the card. I like the flavor. I like the idea of that card. Now, the last one, of course, is the one you will all know, and that, of course, is going to be the Hand of Erebus. Now, this card, I like it, okay? It's fun. It screams fun. It's got 1 green, 1 black, 1 white. You guys have seen this card before. It's got menace. But guys, is this enough value? And that is the question that every player is going to ask. They're going to look at the reprint value like I did. They're going to look at the new cards just like I did and determine what you think the value will be 120 days from now. If you asked my opinion and brought me some nachos and cheese, a little extra cheese and guacamole on the side, I would tell you that I believe this product to be overpriced by 40%. It should be 40% cheaper than it is right now to justify the cost of what's about to happen with the reprints and the new cards inside the set. But you guys tell me, am I wrong or am I right? You argue with me or you agree with me, but slam something down inside the comment section to let me know what you think about Enduring Enchantments and this deck, as well as what we think is about to happen with the Eldrazi. So thanks again, everyone, for hanging out with me today and allowing me to entertain you here on the channel. If you're new to the channel, if you're here and you like what you see, please remember to hit that subscribe button, join the channel. We are getting closer every day to the 20,000 subscriber mark and the 20K party. It's going to be epic, but I need those guys to hit the subscribe button. We need the comments in the comment section, the thumbs up on the videos. Guys, thanks for being here. Looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And don't forget, bring a friend to Magic. Have a great time doing it. It's an amazing game. Thanks again to all my fantastic patrons on the channel for supporting me each and every day. Without that support, we would not have the daily uploaded content we have today. So thanks again to my patrons, my YouTube membership members. It's amazing, guys. Thanks again. I'll see you all tomorrow. Price memory is a horrible thing to deal with. Welcome back to the end. Price memory. Wizards of the Coast probably wishes we didn't remember, but we do. And a lot of us who've been around a long time remember this stuff. That's why we always remind people. Because it bothers us when they charge this much for something that hasn't improved. It's like when the subway fees go up, but they haven't improved service. They haven't improved anything to make it worth the increase. They just, workers had to get raises, which is true. They had to fix the tracks, and costs went up for metal. I get it. Just there's no service increase, so it drives you insane. Even though you know the money's being spent somewhere, it bothers you because you don't see it on the surface, right? Imagine going to like Metro Foods here in Toronto. You go and buy a loaf of bread, Wonder Bread, and it's $4.29. But I know if I walk over to Freshco, which is nearby, that I'm only going to pay $2.99. Save myself $1 something. But you're already there. You figure it's not worth it for $1 something. But you know it's cheaper. And it's going to irritate you all the way home. That's how my mind works. It's crazy. But this is stuff that bothers me in the night. Because I like the idea of these commander decks. I like the face of them. I think they're great ideas. I just think they weren't executed well. And they're overcharging. And it bothers me. And it's like, because I like the idea. I can't wait to play with some of this stuff. I want some of these cards. But not that price point. So, have a great one. Thanks for hanging out. These are the weird thoughts of the day. And yeah, you can buy cheaper no-name bread too. I mean, just buy the no-name bread. Save yourself some money. I don't eat bread anyway. I have to eat these keto wraps.